Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest. Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and with me today I have a special guest. Her name is Tina Antrim, and she is a financial life coach. And I just want to get this conversation started because finances is one of the toughest things that we want to talk about, especially as women, right? And so Tina, tell us where you're from and how did you embark upon this journey to be a financial life coach?
Oh God. Okay. How much time do we have? So I am from Northeast Indiana, Fort Wayne to be specific, and I've been in the
Okay.
Midwest, Indiana, my whole life. Um, gosh, typically I grew up in a paycheck to paycheck household. My dad was a police officer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So, as a police officer, he didn't make a lot of money, always had more than one job. And so I saw him have more than one job just to put money on the table. So I grew up believing that you always had to have more than one job in order to make ends meet, right?
Okay.
Now, he passed away when I was 11. So then my mom became a single parent to two young children. So then I walked through that, what it's like to be a single parent trying to raise kids. Thankfully, she was already the money manager of the household. So she didn't have to deal with how do I grieve and raise two children without my spouse and figure out how to manage money. She at least knew that part. But with the paycheck to paycheck household and never really having as much and feeling I didn't have as much as my friends or family, other family members, I think when I graduated from college, I got into this. I didn't have what I wanted when I was growing up, so I'm going to spend it all now. And I kind of became what I call a spendaholic. And I just spent money. And I got into a lot of debt doing that. And even when I got a really, really good job as a high school counselor, I still was spending. And and I walked that line because I've always been a Christian. I was raised in a faith-based home. And I knew that managing money was a part of being a good steward. And so I had this conflict of I'm in debt, which I assumed which was a sin, which I later found out is not really a sin. Um, it just keeps us from being able to be all that God wants us to be, right?
Right.
Because our
It
money
keeps
is
us
not free to
enslaved,
have.
right? Mhm.
Yes, yeah. Um, but so I went from spending all this money and having this conflict of not being able to be a good steward because I didn't have enough money to really give to the church like I was supposed to, or be able to, save like I was supposed to. So I was really challenged to figure out, how do I change this? So I took a journey. I took up that challenge and I took a journey to figure out, how am I going to change my financial life so that I can bless others, bless my church, walk in stewardship, and be responsible like God has called us to do, is be responsible with our money.
Right.
So I did. I walked that. I got myself out of debt. I currently am completely debt free, including my mortgage. I was able to retire
Okay.
early from my job as a high school counselor after 30 years. And I, for the last 12 years, have been trying to help other people find that same abundance living. We don't have to, I don't think God has called us to live paycheck to paycheck. I think he's called us to a much higher purpose. And
Right.
my goal is to help people find that transition of being able to move into what God has truly called them to do with their money.
It's interesting how you made a pact with yourself at a young age, and it brought on this belief system that caused you to walk in that trajectory of spending. And then when you had really learned a new concept, you had to move it from your head to your heart because the you had to actually tear down the belief and
Hmm.
gain a new belief about money in order to be debt free, because you're right, he called us to steward,
Hmm.
and we can't bless others out of scarcity. It has to be out of abundance. And so I
Right.
like how you made that transition
Yeah.
into that belief, because you have to, I like how, especially when the Bible say, when you have overcome, go go help your brother. And that's what you're doing with your life. You debt free, and now you can teach others how to do the same. So you have the credentials to teach because you have the heart of it, the story behind it. And that's amazing. How important do you think it is for others to be debt free in their lives so that
Yeah.
they can move forward in purpose?
I think it is so important. I know how freeing it is to be debt free. I have some family and friends that are like, they don't care about the debt. That it's not important to them. They're like, I'm just going to spend what I want, and I will just, I'll leave the debt to my kids, and or I'll leave it to the state. That'll take care of it. But as a high school counselor, I've seen so many families where a parent has died early. My parent died early and has left the family in financial chaos. And so not only are they dealing with that grief, but they're also dealing with the chaos that comes around not having the debt and not having the that income now to help support it. And even though being in debt is not a sin, I researched it. I wrote a book, and in part of my book, that's how I found out. Nowhere in the Bible, there's over 3,000 verses in the Bible about money, but nowhere does it say that having debt is a sin. And I was like, really? No, it's not a sin. But it keeps us from being all that God has called us to be, as I said. But what I know is that money is extremely emotional. It has been
Yes.
emotional for me, right? I mean, being in debt causes so much emotion. Even people that say that they don't care that they have that debt, I think deep down inside, it does get them, right? They're
I
like,
really want to grab what you just said, that I don't want to let that go I want to
yeah.
grab it because I think it's powerful when you
Hmm.
said that is emotional. Can you elaborate on what that means to the audience? Because I think that you said a mouthful when you said it, and I don't want to let that just travel by without grabbing it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you did because I just talked to somebody the other day that is contacted me because they're in a lot of debt right now, and it's causing the it's causing the emotions to also carry into relationships with others and how they're relating on their job and things like that, because emotions can be guilt, right? It can be things that we know that we are supposed to be doing and we're not doing, and so it causes guilt. It can be embarrassment. When I was in debt,
Goodness.
I was so embarrassed by my situation. And I didn't tell anybody. So it was a secret shame.
Yeah, that shame.
Yes, it was a secret shame that nobody knew I had. On the outside, everybody saw me smiling. Everybody saw me spending money. Everybody thought I was happy. On the inside, I was crying myself to sleep at night because I didn't know how I was going to pay the next bill. I walked to my mailbox not wanting to get the mail and open up the envelopes, because especially the ones that I knew were bills or credit card statements, because I knew I didn't have money to pay for it. So that shame and that embarrassment and that guilt and that fear, the fear of not having the security and confidence, and us as women especially, we Dave Ramsey calls it this security gland, right? And when we are in debt and we aren't confident in our money and our situation, then we make a lot of decisions out of fear.
Right. In scarcity
Yes.
and not out of abundance,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is very different, right?
It is. And you know what I thought was interesting when I was writing my book, I and this is what I learned when I was growing up in the church. Some of that, we have these money stories and these tapes that play in our head that affects how we manage our money. And then we marry somebody that either has the same money story as we do or a different money story than we do, right? And then we get
Yes.
this conflict, either internally within ourselves or with our spouse or with our kids that just doggone it don't manage money the same way we do. And what I learned was that growing up in the church, a lot of times, number one, I would see the 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 tithing bowl go, down the row, and everybody would put their money in, right? So I knew you
Right.
had to tithe. Um, and then I would hear the stories from the pastor and other, Sunday school teachers about, the woman at the well who gave, her last pennies. And,
Right.
and a lot of it is out of scarcity. And they don't
Yes.
talk about the rich kings who blessed their kingdoms. They don't talk about the Proverbs 31 woman who was a business owner and was successful with her money. So I grew up in this
Yeah,
scarcity.
it's
This,
almost like a gambling type of spirit on it, right? If you,
yes,
take a chance, and give
yes,
God 10% and watch how he bless you. And
yes.
that's the message that you get. You are so right. That's the message you get in church, and it is that scarcity mindset that
It's that
gravitate toward
scarcity
that.
mindset. Yes, give out
Mhm.
of your poverty and you will be
Yes,
loved by
yes.
God, right? Instead of give out of your abundance and bless the people around you. And it's okay to save a little bit for yourself along the way.
And what's deeper, I think, too, is the giving part of the giving part is mainly about understanding you, you're called to steward and manage what he's blessed you with.
Yes.
Nothing belongs to you.
Yes.
It's
And when
for
you think about
purpose.
that, that is a huge responsibility.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I talk, and I have some people that are they're scared of that responsibility. And so like they kind of put this cap on how much they want to bring in, right? I once heard somebody say that God does not have a cap for our blessings. So why do we put a cap on it?
Right. And,
Right?
and and he owns everything. I mean, he said he would never withhold anything good from us. And
Hmm.
so you're right about the message behind giving in church and out of poverty. You are so right. But it's interesting because when we do give out of obedience
Hmm.
and with the understanding that we are saying, Lord, you bless me with this money.
Yes. And we're going to give back.
So I'm going to give back to you out of obedience
Yes.
and allow you to fill in the gaps.
Yes. And I truly believe that believers want to do that.
I
I
believe
talk
so
to
too.
so many people, at our in our initial thing, and I'll be like, what are you not able to do that you want to be able to do? And they're like, I want to be able to give. I don't have enough money at the end of the month to be able to give to my church or to bless my neighbor or to bless this other person that I know is struggling. And or they give and they overgive to the detriment of their own family, right? So you got to find that balance.
Yes. Who are your ideal clients?
So my ideal clients are generally women who make a great income, But despite the income, they just don't have enough money at the end of the month to be able to give generously, save abundantly, and spend without guilt, shame, and fear.
Now tell me, how does it affect their confidence?
When you're not in alignment with how you're spending your money, right? Confidence is all about lack of clarity.
Mm,
So if you don't know what's going on with your money, if you don't know, most of us kind of, I mean, we kind of know how much is coming in, but so many people have no idea really where it's going. They lack that structure, they lack that plan. And confidence is all about creating that clarity through having a plan. And so,
that is so true.
yeah, that's what I teach my clients. And I walk through them with it because here's the thing too is it's not about what we know. We all know, a lot of what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to spend more than we make. We're supposed to, give 10% if we are Christians, So we know a lot of those basic theologies and things that we're supposed to be responsible about,
Hmm.
but we don't do it. We don't do what we know. So the missing piece is how do we change our habits and behaviors and mindsets and our money stories to be able to walk a different path? And I've been there and done that, which is how I'm able to help others make those kinds of changes. And it's
And
not
do you
easy. I
find,
tell people
right,
it is
it's not
not
easy at
easy.
all. I had to
You are
change
going
my
to have to
belief.
make some sacrifices in the beginning.
I had to change my money belief. I get it.
Yeah,
Uh, and don't you find that belief is heavily uh, the well, I would say, don't you find that belief is the root cause, the belief, the way they believe, the story they
the
believe
story.
about money
Yeah,
that has everything to do with how much debt they're in.
yeah. When you think about when you were a child, what were the first things that you remember around money when you were a child, right? Some of the things
Right.
that I remember is, having a lemonade stand. That was the first time, that I remember, aside from the tooth fairy putting quarters under my pillow, right? Having a lemonade stand, and I actually got money, and then there was a decision. What am I going to do with the money? That's up to the parents to teach their children how are you going to manage money? And most of us had parents that didn't teach us because they
That
didn't know.
that's so true because I hear about the lemonade stand. In some cultures, they just don't teach their children about the lemonade stand.
Right.
But
Yes,
that's
you're right.
or and
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 it could be
how to
babysitting, right? It could be
yes.
doing other things that,
And I think,
got
or
your
they
first
may
dollar.
teach their children about the lemonade stand or a candy store. Like we grew up with a candy store, and we
Okay.
had to manage. We had to, but no one. But the piece that I believe that's so important is how do you distribute that? How do you take care of the money you have made and earned for that week? And that piece is a heavy piece that's missing. How many times do you find that in your clients where that story is missing? That
hmm
that that lesson is missing.
hmm So much so that I spent, like, think like 4 chapters in my book just talking about money story. Because literally it is when you talk about the money story, it's what the church taught you. It's what your family taught you.
Mhm.
It's what the school might have taught you. It's what have you seen? What have you heard? And what have you experienced around money as you were growing up? Right? And we all
Right,
have different things that we've seen, heard, and experienced that have influenced how we then manage money as an adult. Most of us were around people that just they either hoarded money or they overspent it.
right.
And that's what we learned to do. And so to break those habits, we've got to break those money stories down into little bites that we can digest and then just kind of look at them and go, okay, I see how that impacts my story. I see how um, I grew up, my family thought that rich people were um, awful people. Rich people just hoarded their money and um, are selfish, right? So I grew up believing that rich people are selfish. There are so many wealthy people out there that are such generous givers.
Yes. Yes.
Generous to a not to a fault, I guess, but you know, they're in a position where they're able to do things that most of us are not able to do. And instead of, I heard somebody, and he's a wealthy person, and he was saying how he had bought no, I'm going to tell a different story because I wrote about it in my book. I had a pastor that I knew of that was living in a really, really nice house. And I was just like, okay, you're a pastor. How can you be living in this nice house? We're obviously paying you too much money because you should not be able to live in a nice house. And then as I thought about it and I was researching my story, I'm like, who am I? He's a pastor leading this church. Absolutely, he deserves the blessing of being able to live in a beautiful home.
Right.
Right. But my money story was telling me, no, but that was all me, and being
Right.
selfish and envious of what that person had instead of owning my own. If I'd been managing my money wisely, I could have lived in that home. I could have lived in a place like that, but I was not managing my money wisely. And so God was not blessing me with those kinds of things because
So
why is it going to bless me with more when I can't steward the few dollars I had?
so when you spend your money, we all have these internal stories going on inside that we're not aware of sometimes. Like when you spend your money, now that you know what you know, what
Mhm.
is your new internal conversation?
My internal conversation, is this going to move me forward or further away from the goal that I have for myself?
All right. That's a good question to ask. 'Cause
Yeah.
then-
Yeah. And it's
and
when I
how did
ask
you
my
stay the
clients.
path?
I have my clients all the time are like, oh, I've got this little Tina on my shoulder. And every time I'm getting ready to purchase something, I have to ask myself, is this going to move me further away or closer to my goal? And I'm
That's
like,
important.
it
Yeah.
is. I mean, number one, you have to identify what is the goal that you're reaching for. And we
Yes.
always have goals. I don't care, even if you have $10 million, you have a goal for something still that you're wanting to achieve. And so now when I'm spending money, for example, I just bought a new laptop. And I was like, and I could rationalize it. It was a Best Friday deal.
Right.
I needed this one, my laptop that I have that I'm currently on right now. It's been, going out on me and I don't want to take a chance. So I can rationalize all day long in my mind. And I can make any purchase feel like a need.
And
So what I have to
that's why
ask,
I
yep. And
said.
so I have to ask myself, is it worth it? And in 2 weeks from now, will I still be happy with this purchase?
Mhm.
And sometimes I have to say, I'm not going to buy it right now. And I'm going to just give it 2 weeks. And if I still feel that need to buy it, then I'll buy it. And a lot of
Because
times
you
I don't.
actually putting the emotion off for a second to see if it's a true
Yes.
need versus I'm doing it out of emotion.
Yes. Because I still very much am a spender at heart. I still love spending money. And when I worked for the school system, it was great because I got some money that I was able to spend and it wasn't mine. So, when you can spend somebody else's money,
I
it's a
know
lot
it's
of
great, right?
fun.
So
Yeah,
you have to put a boundary on that.
you
And the
really
boundary
do.
is that
And you have to
that
separate the
yeah,
emotion from, the facts and the reality
yes.
of what's really going on.
That's some good work you do because I'm sure women who are, struck, when we talk about women in, women in finances and confidence, all of
Mhm.
that encompasses how they deal with relationships as well. And so I'm sure that you deal with women who are going through a divorce.
Mhm.
That I'm sure that has a huge impact on how they spending
Yeah.
and the with the lack of, because you remember when you married and you lose an income, you losing a whole income.
Right.
That could be devastating. So I'm sure you have clients that deal with that type of stuff. So the work you're doing is actually very good because it's needed.
Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I not only am I a coach, but I'm also, a licensed counselor. And so
Okay.
just helping people has always it's been something I wanted to do since I was a child, and so for 30
Yes.
years I was helping high school kids and, and then I started transitioning into helping their parents, right? And helping other adults learn to manage money better because it is such an emotion-based topic. It is something that we privately hold in our heart and in our mind. And and it is so shame-based and guilt and fear-based. And I truly believe that is not how God has called us to live.
And I totally agree with you. So tell us, tell us more about your book.
Oh, my book. My
Show
book.
us your book.
Yes, my book is called Escape the Paycheck to Paycheck Trap.
I love
And
that.
it's basically my story of how I was in debt and how I got out of it, as well as the stories of some of my clients and other people that I know. Because one of the things that helped me get out of debt and even believe that I had the capacity within myself to do so was I read a book that had other people's stories in it.
Okay.
And I read those stories going, I could do that. That doesn't seem so crazy out there. I could do that. So it was really important for me to write a book that was my journey. And people read it and they're like, anybody that has had a conversation with me, they read that book going, it's like just sitting down in a comfortable chair and talking to me, which is the best thing for me because that's exactly how I wanted it to read. I wanted it to
Nice.
read like a conversation, not a
And
text.
I will put the link in the
Thank
and
you.
I will put the link in so people can make that purchase and
Thank you. Yes, it's on Amazon.
the information that you also have um with your website and all of that. I will put that in the information as well so the audience can reach you. So if you can give the audience one piece of advice before we um close out, what would it be?
If you've been hiding, stop hiding and reach out and get help because living in fear and shame and anxiety is not the way we're supposed to be living. And so reach out, find somebody like me, somebody in your sphere of influence that you trust and that you know is going to just wrap their arms around you, be the love of Jesus and let you know that you are okay and you are not a bad person. So that, but then I have to get a second one would be to let's let's create some let's create some clarity in your finances so you can have that confidence and security
I
in
like
moving
that.
forward.
I like that. Clarity in your finances. I like that because that's what's lacking, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Tina, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experience, sharing your joy for what you do as a financial life coach. And you also a licensed counselor, psychologist, right?
Counselor.
Counselor,
Yeah.
licensed counselor. And so thank you so much for sharing all of what you have inside of you because we can see the passion as you talk about it. We can see the love that you have for it. And it's showing as you talk about it. So thank you so much. And to the
Thank
audience,
you.
if you are struggling or suffering in silence, please reach out to Tina and her information will be in. And do share. If you feel like this video was helpful, please do share with someone else and subscribe to the channel because That way you can get an alert when I have another guest on, because I'm always having guests on. So, and it's really to help you get some of the things that you do, that you may need to walk in this life, because we all need help as holistically. So I just want to make sure that you get what you need, outside of outside of the resources that you may have from experts that's actually doing it, like Tina and myself. And so just want to say that. And I want to say happy Monday to you and have a wonderful day.
It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom will heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.